What's up, everyone? It is No Cap Space WBB's Ball Up Top, a women's basketball podcast. I'm Andrew Hobner, sitting in for Tyler DeLuca this evening, who I think is watching a playoff game. I'm not exactly positive, but we got Shawnee here, so dynamic duo back in effect. How you doing, Shawnee?
Hey, Scorpio season.
We're back.
Yeah, my November brother. We are here.
Shoulder seasons.
Let's do
All
it.
right. We got a lot to talk about this week because as much as I hate the fact that we don't get a break in this media cycle, it has been literally 1 month since the Final Four, and we are already in the preseason of the WNBA. And before we get going, folks, quick ad read from Home Field. As always, use No Cap 15 to get 15% off your first order. We got some good merch going into this year. You should get some as well. It is very NCAA-centric, but we have a collection on Home Field's website where we curated every piece of women's basketball merch they have. It's called the No Cap Space Collection. So make the order, get some merch, get dripped out, because it's going to be a good summer for bright colors.
I don't like how you mentioned that after Final Four. Like, what are you trying to bring back?
I mean, they do have UConn. They have UConn national championship merch. I don't know whatever happened to that jersey that we or that jacket we put on you. I don't know if it ended up in a landfill somewhere in Gulf Shores, Alabama. But did you keep it?
Yeah, no, it's in my closet because it's nice. It's just I gotta get some like dark sunglasses. The big sunglasses. I gotta get a nice hat so that when I wear it, like nobody knows it's me.
Like the old Jim Irsay photos when he was trying to be incognito.
Exactly.
Those are the ones that I want. Yes. But I mean, I will say everyone from South Carolina has been good sports about this, because we saw A'ja Wilson this week in the Aces preseason matchup rocking all the way down to the overalls from Kia Stokes. Honestly, kudos to A'ja. Like, you take the wins with the losses, and I mean, the Aces look pretty good through one preseason game. So maybe the overalls have done a thing here. I'm not sure. I'm not saying.
Not too much. Not too much. Not too much. And shout out to Tiffany Mitchell. She was also forced to participate. So Cox, stick together.
Cox they'll be up again. It's a refractory period. That's okay.
We'll be back.
Yes. So let's get going before we commiserate too much on the NCAA side of things, although we will get into that on a certain level here over the course of this episode. But I want to start, Shawnee, with where we are in the preseason. I wrote in 5 out this week. Personally, I love the college games. I love the concept of going home. That's something that your Aces and your Gamecocks really set in motion last year, and it dovetailed really well with A'ja Wilson's A1 release. And now we're starting to get games at PMAC and Carver Hawkeye and Matthew Knight Arena. I don't put much stock into the preseason as a function of basketball evaluation, but I like this stuff. Where are you on it? Do you take anything out of the preseason?
I mean, I feel like you kind of have to in some instances. Like some people, it is like open runish type vibe where we're just trying to see what we got, see what we can do. And some it's like, we got to establish some stuff right now. So even if we don't like get it all the way together, like we have expectations. Teams with expectations got to get the kinks out pretty quick, because season starts and it's like coming out the gate slow is not something you want, because sometimes like that could be the difference in seeding. So I think it kind of depends on the situation. For me, there were agendas at play. So I absolutely took the preseason very seriously. It mattered a great deal. And if it didn't to you, that means you're a loser. So I don't know what to tell you. But like, I love like the international flavor, because we get Puerto Rico last year at Colonial Life. We get Brazil. Brazil went on an America tour. Shout out to them. They got to see the best, some of the best, and Iowa. So, I mean, they got to experience, and shout out to Iowa, I guess. I don't know. I've never been there. I'm not going, but respectfully. They get to see like distinct parts of the country, and I think that's actually like really cool for them to be a part of that. And they had a blast. It looked like they're getting autographs. That was dope that they got pictures with Camilla and Dantas. Like, I love that for them. So I do like the FIBA kind of melding of that, and I hope they continue that moving forward if they keep doing this.
Low key in the long term, Brazil's like kind of nice. Low key, like Camilla, Dantas, Suarez, Ayla McDowell, future South Carolina Gamecock, is a Brazilian and probably the one main guard for them to watch. Like, dude, if Camilla pans out on her ceiling and McDowell does too, you're talking about like an elite guard, a potentially generational center, and then a whole lot of additional height and three-point shooting, at least in that starting five. Like, that's an interesting generation to watch, man. Like, Brazil, I mean, granted, like they lost by like 60 today, but or this past weekend, but it was also like the college kids. Like, people, I don't know if people pick the names up, like Bella Nascimento, who was on that 16 seed William and Mary team that made history in the NCAA tournament this year. Like, she was on the floor, you know, against
but see, and that's
Indiana
the thing,
Fever. Like,
when it comes time for like big girl Olympics play, you've already gotten some significant experience, because like Carver was packed, filled to the brim. It was like about 15,000. So it's like you have that experience against some of, you know, the best Americans, because if everything pans out and you have Caitlin and Angel on the U.S. team next go around, you've already seen them. You already know what to expect a little bit. That's great experience for them moving forward.
There was like a weird Jordan quality to Caitlin too. Like, the idea of like, and I'm gonna qualify this because we have seen this with other players, and I'm thinking of one very specific example of a reigning MVP walking into the locker room of an active Division I college team that was ranked in the top 25 and got the rock star treatment. So this is not to say this has not happened before. However, it is important to note that there is a star quality around Caitlin Clark, in the way that like there is that star quality with Asia Wilson when she went into the North Carolina locker room. Like, it's things that we've seen, but I think to me it almost shows the gravity of like how people are looking at a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, like without an MVP, without a title yet. Like, their motion is motion. Like, it shows, boy.
They saw firsthand what it looked like pulling up from 22, from the 22 logo.
God, that was insane. That's like a 36-footer.
Oh my God, she's so wild for that. But like, you know, you heard the coach say like, you're changing the game, like, for that impact to get to Brazil, right? Because, you know, they have the tie to Dantas, they have Camilla, you know, so they're like kind of locked in on what's going on, and to still see that and appreciate what she's doing for the game, to the point where they're like getting autographs and shaking hands and taking pictures, and like we're giddy to like meet her. Like, the motion is motioning.
It's face stuff. And you know, to go back to like, not to dredge up arguments from last year, but I think it's interesting noticing that we had a whole off season, but it clearly didn't stop any of the arguments that existed this time 12 months ago. But to that point, there can be, at least in my opinion, more than one face. Like, if you look at any major league, it has to exist with more than one face, right? Like, the NFL was never just solely Tom Brady. The NFL is not solely Patrick Mahomes right now. The NBA has been LeBron for a very long time, but with LeBron has been Steph, KD, has been, you know, Kobe and Dirk and all of the, you know, Giannis, Luka, etc. And while there's you know, a pecking order at the top, clearly there's people that like will argue down for Kevin Durant, or people that would argue down for Kobe when LeBron was in the league and Kobe was still with us. Like, that's why the leagues are good, because you get multiple faces. And I you know, I think we're in face territory with those two in particular in a unique way. I think Angel's in there as well. And we're starting to get like a couple others that are starting to pop into that territory. Paige is going to be one this year. nope, I'm not doing this. She's gonna end up in face-ish territory this year.
No, I
but
know.
to me, it's just the health. It's just the health of the league. Whatever.
No, it
people's
is. And
arguments
you know
are,
how
what
you
they
get
are,
that
but it's
though?
great. How?
You know how you get that though? You get
By
that
hate?
through healthy rivalries. Yes. No, because
Ethical
like
hate. Ethical hate.
KD, yes, but KD versus LeBron, right? Why does that happen?
Mhm.
Because KD linked up with Steph. Steph versus LeBron. Why does that happen? We get the 3-1. We get, he was dominating
Mhm.
King James. We've got those storylines and we've got that competition. When you get some healthy storylines about people, even like people are Paul George stands, and I can't for the life of me understand that one. But like, if you can push Paul George, you can push anybody.
You can push anybody.
So, so I think Kathy has to kind of take note and decide, like, yeah, the Caitlyn Angel thing happened organically, and it is kind of like a magic bird quality to it, but like that can't be it. You tried it with the Aces Liberty. Let's revisit. Let's dig back in that well. I got some stuff for you, Kathy. If you need some material, I got you. But like we got to start telling, putting people like even we could even like reheat some nachos and like let's bring Skylar Diggins since she's now Skylar Diggins. Get her back, OG back in the forefront. She hates a number of teams in the W right now.
Yeah,
including New York.
Yeah, well, and I feel like it needed this year or two, right? Like there was always going to be a growing pain type of component here, but I think, and this was another thing that I wrote about with the college visits. To me, it feels like the league is finally figuring out, like, we have a golden goose, we can't mess this up. Because 5-10 years ago, maybe they're not going and doing this with the same zeal. I mean, preseason games as a whole were televised, all of them, for the first time in the league's history. Like, that's, to me, where we are, just in terms of how much we've grown. So, yeah, I mean, I'm psyched with the amount that we've been able to see. Are there any players that have stood out to you in this preseason at all?
Timpson, Michaela Timpson.
Yeah.
For the Fever, like she's well, I wanted to say, hey, it's Allie. The one that filmed the links. Just shout out to her because that was iconic, and now we're getting preseason on television, and it all started with hopefully your Android phone. But shout out to her. But Michaela Timpson, boy, I remember somebody tweeted the other day and was like, she needs to stop fouling or whatever, because that's not going to work against Asia or Fee. And I was just like, in what situation is she going to be guarding Asia or Fee? And now I'm like, you might be right, big dog. That's my fault, OG. She might be out there at some point with Aaliyah Boston guarding Asia or Fee. And she's got the goods. She's got the goods.
An athlete, man. Just a long, lengthy, high upside athlete. And I love that for them, because there were spurts where they did get that type of activity from NaLyssa Smith. And, I think the big issue with her last year was you wanted that a little more consistency and you just weren't going to get it. But like she gave them these little spurts where you just saw those flashes. And I think Timpson kind of has that, but she's a little earlier in her career where get a player on program who also isn't coming in with the expectation of being a star the way a NaLyssa Smith might have been. It's understandable. Pick 2 of the draft. She was, and people can remember what they want to remember about NaLyssa Smith's Baylor tenure. She was her, dog. When she left Baylor, there was not a lot of doubt that she was going to be a really good WNBA player. And I think that when you come into the league with that expectation of yourself, it's sometimes hard to shake that. And I think Timpson, you're getting solely upside. And I think that's going to be a really cool component about who they are and how they play. It also makes me wonder if you do keep Bree Turner, because that position seems a little superfluous now. That's my only interest.
So here's the thing, respectfully, because I know how people get when you start talking about people that need to be cut. When I first saw the practice clips, I was like, she can go. Like, you could get a younger, cheaper Bree Turner, better Bree Turner, excuse me, like I feel like Bree Turner's best season was 2021 when she's playing alongside like dominant BG, and she was
Yes.
eating because she's not the focal point of the offense, and she was able to like, you know, get in spots and get out of BG's way, and she ate. I mean, we haven't really seen that since. So I'm kind of like, or well, no, let me back up. We kind of saw what she looked like without BG. And that's where I'm like, I'm okay just keeping Timpson. Because if we can figure something out to keep Timpson and Ejim.
Yeah, I think it's dependent on how much veteran presence they think they want or think they still might need, right? And I do think they're good. Like I did think Turner was a little superfluous in that respect, just because you've got Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull's still there, Dantas is a veteran, but then you go out and you add DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, and Sydney Colson. Turner is still another veteran body that I think the argument you would make for her is that she is a player that has seen playoff rotational minutes. And if your intention as the Fever is to go to a semifinal or WNBA final or win a WNBA final, you might need a rotational big who has been in pressure spots. And instead of having to tailor the rotation around making sure it's AB, who also, alongside Caitlin, will not have had deep playoff experience if they do go that deep. So you're going to be relying on Natasha Howard in some respect to know and understand what is required at that level. And Bree Turner, I think, also gives you that to a certain degree as well. But man, Timpson's so high upside. I absolutely love that. I like the Mystics. Like I wrote literally on Monday, I'm like negating my own argument of don't read too much into stuff. The only thing I would say I would read into is like Sonia Citron at least looks kind of ready. And there was, I think, a big discussion with her about whether or not she would be a translatable player. Like not the longest, not super athletic, but just like a smart, steady, good guard. And, you know, while I think star ceiling is a relative concept in this league, I mean, there's a Lexi Hull floor for her, I think, which is a rotational 6th, 7th woman type player in the WNBA. But what we saw early was that she seems like she's got the ability to be a little beyond that. So I like what I've seen out of her. I like Kiki Iriafen too, man. That's friend of no cap space, Kiki Iriafen getting down and dirty on the weekend preseason game. I love the moxie.
I was so proud of her. I was so proud of her. Just get her off you. Just get her. Ooh, set the tone, because like
we didn't raise no punks over here. No,
exactly. She knows how to represent. But like the Mystics are probably gonna be like, again, like how last year they were a very scrappy 0-10 team, but it's like they were a really good 0-10 where they're right there in like 9.5 of those games. So it's like we could see that again. But Sonya, you look up and maybe she sneak a rookie of the year. And I'm not, when I say that, I'm saying that no, it's not hate. It is based on expectation, because people right now, people are telling me like, well, Paige isn't going to have to score that much. She just has to do this X, Y, Z. Da, 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 da. And if we're tailoring the expectations, fine. But like with the Mystics, there's going to be more placed on Sonya, because what else are they doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's like in terms of rookie usage, that could be her biggest asset.
I'm going to hit you with the hater Uno reverse card. Are you ready for this? It's giving the argument people made for Rikia over Caitlin for Rookie of the Year last year.
Rikia didn't have better numbers. Rikia was injured.
But that argument was out there. Camille, there were hating ass arguments out there. What about Camilla? Angel and Caitlin for Rookie of the Year all year was a discussion topic.
No, so yes.
I'm answering hate with hate.
No. Okay. And I respect that, because I do remember saying like, well, why wasn't Rikia? And then that's where I was kind of like, if y'all weren't so hyper fixated on saying Caitlin's getting too much attention, you would have seen a lot of us asking, why isn't Kurt Miller playing Rakia more? Because I remember we said that at the beginning of the season, like, what is he doing? Like, what's really going on here? So if Rakia gets into the rotation earlier and is allowed to cook sooner before she gets hurt, we might be having a different discussion to where, yeah, Rakia was threatening her, but because people weren't paying attention, that slid through the cracks until it was too late. And then everybody saw like that real good stretch, I think, after All-Star. And now they're like, oh, Rakia Jackson is so smooth. Her game is so, why isn't she in contention in conversation? You're too late. You missed the deadline. So sorry, family. Blackboard is now cut off. No more comments.
So what I'm hearing is that in your ethical hate of Paige Beckers, you are actually advocating for her protected mental health by having less attention placed on her this coming season.
What I'm saying is motion is sold separately. Shout out to Fetty Film. So if she's a recluse all season, it's my look, man, my kid couldn't have social anxiety. So sorry to her. She can do whatever she wants. But over here, you got to go out and say your Easter speech. It's showtime over here.
This is like I try to throw you the layup, and you take the ball and just Jokic throw it 85 feet into the other hoop. Just
I'm Enrique playing soccer.
Just to spite me. Man, this is where I need Graham for true backup.
I'm not letting it go down.
Beyond the ethical hate, what'd you think of Wings Aces? Did you take anything out of Wings Aces, out of a Jewel Lloyd and Asia Wilson led Aces? Jackie Young scoring a lot of points. I mean, first game for the Dallas Wings, who turned over like 90% of their roster. I'm not looking into any of that. However, the Aces, like, I mean, the question's gonna be if this can happen all year. But Asia seems rejuvenated.
2025 is the year of I need to see it. So I need to see a bit more tape, because to start, the Aces still look defensively not good. Like we still, like, people are just not fully committed to doing one thing and not fully committed to doing the other. And now it just looked weird. It looked weird. And I know that's like, start of the year, you're getting the kinks out, you're getting back in shape, you're getting the chemistry back down. So I can't read too much into it. The defense kind of, I'm gonna have a question about that. In terms of the Wings, you said no hate.
It's like percolating in you. I can see it. It's like it's looking at you like the Goblin Mask.
Do I have anything non-hate? The jerseys look clean. Like that was
nice.
Yeah, okay, so my thing, everybody's like, Paige did not, it was another situation where I felt like she did not impose her will. And she was not, like, there were times where I kind of forgot this was her debut. You know what I'm saying? Like, Isaiah James comes in and immediately we feel her presence, and then throughout JJ Quinterly, like, you tell, like, and it may be like, it may be a different type of hunger when you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna be here next week, versus I'm the number one pick, my spot is set, like, I'm good. And I'm not saying like she's coasting. I'm just saying, like, there was a different level of presence felt between the rookies on the Wings, and they got Steele and Isaiah. Like, boy, I really hope they can find. I hope they can find space and like opportunities for both of them. Tierra McGowan, sister, and I say this with love, please, I'm literally begging you, and I'll just keep it at that, because I saw quotes from Coach Ponytail today, and I was just like, It's not looking good over there, man. And I've been wanting
Yeah.
to believe so hard for so long, and it's like it's getting to a point.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I think with Paige, I'm not reading much into first game just because, again, 2.5 weeks removed from winning a title, whirlwind media, draft, training camp. Like, I'm going to give her a little bit of, the grace that we should
Why?
give a lot of these rookies, because it's the grace we
No.
gave Caitlin last year. We gave
No, we
Caitlin like a
didn't.
month.
She had 20. No. First of all, with Caitlin, we came in and we're getting defensive assignments. Who's picking her up 94 feet each game? So now I'm seeing Benaja Laney's been employed. I'm seeing JC Sheldon. We got the clip of Natasha Howard doing her very best to keep her contained. Like, look at how hard people were playing defense on her in the preseason. And everybody tried to sit there and say, like, that's normal. Like, it makes sense to do that. And I'm like, y'all didn't do it to Paige. Look at how open Paige was, bro. Like, that 3-pointer she drained. Like, first off, her game is smooth and it is nice to watch. It is aesthetically pleasing. She has the purest jumper. Her form is flawless. Like, that left-hand layup was tough. That first bucket, that was tough. So it's like, I'm not going to say, like, she can't hoop, but I'm going to say, like, she's not being face guarded, blitz, double team, trap. None of that stuff was happening to her that was happening to Caitlin, and Caitlin still finished with 21 in her first preseason game. Like, fresh off the finals too, 21 points in her first preseason game. After the whole media circus once again, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, heavy is the head that's supposed to wear the crown. If your neck hurt, sister, go ahead and take it off and give it back. And that's fine. But, like, we got to talk about it.
I'll give it to you. This is like the Tony Reali button where he awards points on Around the Horn. You got
You're
me.
just going to bust through my screen like...
You got me on that.
Greer's going to bust through my screen like a Kool-Aid man. No,
fall in through
way.
the ceiling behind you. So speaking of Isaiah and JJ, it got me thinking about training camp cuts, and obviously Cheyenne Sellers is the big one. Signed as of this Monday evening by the Atlanta Dream. And that shocked me a little bit because I don't think the Dream are all that thin at guard. And I was thinking, absent Georgia Amore, maybe the Mystics pick her up, although you wouldn't want to create a situation where, like, Cheyenne balls out, Amore comes back next year, and now you got to, like, decide between a first-round draft pick that you invested capital in and effectively an undrafted free agent. The Sun felt like another place just based on need. The Mercury really need guards. They are totally thin behind Copper. And honestly, I don't really even think they have much. I don't think they have like a lead point guard like that I can immediately point to. It's going to be Copper and Sammy Wickham are the two best guards on that team. So her going to the Dream was intriguing to me because she's a good 3-point shooter. We know that much. Is she going to have the ability to run the pace and off ball that Carl Smesco requires? I'm curious. Thoughts on Cheyenne Sellers to Atlanta?
Well, I was going to say she can't go to the Mercury if she wants to take any mid-range jumpers. So, you know.
Yeah, that was a wild quote from Tibbetts today. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, we got to get to that. Yeah, with Atlanta, I was like, where does that leave Pow? Because that's a little concerning. I'm trying to go through the roster in my head, and I'm kind of like, I know, like, with Pow, it was going to be kind of close, cutting it kind of close, and then they bring in Sellers, so I'm kind of like, this is concerning to me with an agenda at play.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think any of the guards, the guards haven't been waived yet. Any of them. Deanna Gaston is the only one who's been waived by the Dream so far. So, like, it feels, when you look at who still is on that roster, Amani Jefferson from FGCU, which, if we're going to talk about, like, greatest among equals, like, if it's between Pow and the dude and the player that Smesco coached for a couple of years, like, who ends up drawing the short end there, you know? And to me, that's like a Wattpad that is plausible just because that's some shit coaches do because they know my system. Like they've been around. Like I know I can trust them to like buy into what I'm trying to build here. And so yeah, I'm concerned about Pow Pow's spot now all of a sudden.
Mid-major nepotism is wild.
It's a brave new world with that NIL bag. You kidding me?
God. Florida Gulf Coast is booting us off our block. Help.
Yeah. Well, also it makes you wonder too about Haley Jones and Ashley Jones. Because, you know, and I'll cop on this. Like I have been harsh on Haley on this show before. And I think a part of that comes from the fact that I covered her for a really long time, dating all the way back to the college days. And from her freshman year, there were so many flashes of like the player that could be that was in there. And it started off like supernova and just kind of like stayed there and eventually kind of petered into an equilibrium where you thought after that freshman year, like, oh man, like sky's about to be the limit for this player. You know, because there were like some page-ish type of things. Like the finishing obviously wasn't the same. But like her ability to rebound the ball, her ability to distribute, she's got great court vision, she cuts well off the ball. She does have nice finishing moves, step throughs, like turnarounds, spin moves in the paint. Like Haley has a good game. And I don't know if it's just because like she had you know, and on the way out, Tara Vanderveer and Tanisha Wright, which is very legitimately possible that you just ended up with, you know, two coaches that just didn't really work with your skill set or what you needed to do to develop. But you're 23 and it's getting late. And I hate that it's late in the WNBA parlance, which is, you know, why we need more teams. We'll talk about that in a sec. But I wonder, like, whether or not she and Ashley Jones are players on the block too with this Sellers ad. It seems weird that you would add her when on paper there's a lot of good players, and so I think there might be a surprise waiver that comes here if they're making the effort to sign her, or maybe it ends up being Sellers again, you know, which also is a possibility to consider too.
Bro,
which would be nasty.
Renee Montgomery would need to go to jail. Like, go to jail.
Yeah.
Larry too. I'm sorry. Everybody's got to go to jail. Because with Haley, right. So the thing with the Atlanta Dream is they peaked Tanisha's first year. Because I still believe she deserved Coach of the Year because I think she got the most out of that roster possible that year. And then after that, it just fell off a cliff. So the firing, to me, like, I agree she was Coach of the Year and she needed to go at the same time. Like, it just, like, when in the playoffs, when you're not playing Maya Caldwell, and then you get pissy about it. So it's like she was really good for, like, not using people to to their strengths. That's how we get, like, Letitia and me here filling in, like, a lot of the stuff you said. She has skills that were very needed, particularly rebounding and, like, ball handling. You're not playing her. And then when she's asked about it, it's like, you got to earn your stripes. You got to earn, like, girl, it's not the Navy. Calm down. So I think Haley was a victim of that because Tanisha did hate young players. Like, it was very, she was really big on ageism. And it's like, I like dunking on Gen Z too, but, like, you got to be professional here. Leave that to the older siblings. So I think this is a year. Smesko, I don't really have a read on him to say, like, if he's going to at least try and be loyal to certain people or, like, give people a chance. So I can't really say for sure, but I feel like she deserves to have a chance because nothing under Tanisha Wright is anybody's fault, in my opinion. Now, what I will say is he's got to get the culture under control in a hurry because it is cool. The power of friendship is cool until it doesn't work. Then you just look goofy.
Yes.
So it needs, like, we got to have some seriousness about us heading into this season. And I got to see some things to where people are, they're getting back to that high level competition. Cause I do believe, like, Tanisha kind of took the air out of their sails, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. It's late, but I need him to get them back rolling.
Agreed. I think my thing with the Dream has always been on the court, they're trying, right? Like they made the moves for
Mhm.
Alicia Gray, for Jordan Canada. They're making the moves for Brittany Griner, for Brianna Jones. They make, they go out and see Cheyenne Sellers on the waiver wire and pick her up. Like Larry and Ray clearly want to win on the floor. I think off the floor, some of the community outreach, some of the imagination, and maybe that's a function of some Atlanta city politics that I'm not presently aware of in terms of hampering their ability to, get a little bit more in terms of, more opportunities to play in State Farm Arena and things of that nature, practice facilities, that sort of thing. But it feels like the amenities and accoutrements are needed to improve in Atlanta. And for a place that I think is so culturally significant to the WNBA, Atlanta needs to have like a contending good franchise. I think it is better. Basketball is better. The WNBA is better when that market and the Southeast, by extension, is interested in WNBA basketball through the dream, at least until another expansion franchise comes. The one thing that I wrote about in 5-Out that I wanted your take on is I'm increasingly, just due to these cuts, right? And we have these every year. Like we have first round picks every year that get cut. We have second and third rounders who are like, damn, like they really should be on a WNBA roster if they get cut. And there is certain discussions happening right now. Former Texas Longhorn Fran Harris, who is a part of that Austin WNBA bid, she is working on basically the creation of a WNBA G League. I don't think it carries official affiliation with the W, but it would be a developmental league that would exist between college and pro as a means of helping players find a spot in the United States. Now, the thing that I am starting to come around on is that the CBA negotiation should prioritize additional roster spots. Right now, you can carry 12. Most teams carry 11 because they want cap flexibility. You can get hardship contracts, but that only exists when you go under 10 for injuries. And so if you look at the NBA has a roster of 15 and 3 two-way guys that brings the number up to 18. Even if you wipe away the 3 G League dudes, right? You still have a roster size of 15. If you were to go to 15 in the WNBA, that hold on, let me do back of napkin math here, because what I think it ends up being is it's 156 right now in terms of
13.
players.
So
Yep.
10 times
And then
15 is 150. Then 3 more franchises. 15,
195.
45. Yeah.
So currently
195.
was 15 times 15. I'm a bonehead. See, this is why I'm doing journalism, so I don't do math. 156 currently, right?
Oh, 156.
That's the current roster size you can carry. If you were to go 15 and then add the next 2 expansion franchises, you would end up with 225 players in the league. That is 70 more roster spots. And to me, that's huge. That's absolutely massive. And it's massive for players' development. It's massive for international development because you're able to keep international players on the roster a little bit easier. Like it helps you improve the depth of the league and the floor of the league and continue to make it a place where young women who want to play basketball want to go because they feel like they have a shot to do it and to make it. I think the money obviously is a huge part. I think roster spots got to be at the top of that battle when the WNBPA goes to a contract negotiation with the league. Am I crazy in thinking they should prioritize that a bit more?
No, and I also think like we should pop it out to extending the games, so we have closer to what is it now? 40 minutes, right? Yeah, so let's get the 48. So that way you're forcing coaches to like not just hoard talent on the bench, but like use it. And to me, if we add more roster spots and we retain more players from an entertainment standpoint, that's huge. Because now it's like you're trying to carry over the momentum from college season. People get attached to these players. People get attached to their storylines. They see the TikToks during draft night. They see the draft fits, and then they get cut a week later. And it's like, so what is my, what's my incentive? And then on top of that, we get more roster spots. We can get more matchups, right? Because there's a point in the W where it's like, we watched the Liberty and the Aces the other year like 9 times. And it's kind of fun at first, and then it becomes like, okay. And we're watching the Fever and Sky like 22 times this year. You know what I'm saying? So we get more roster spots, we get some more teams. That means we don't have to see teams play 8-9 times before the playoffs or before the Commissioner's Cup, and we can have more exciting matchups. So I think that is big, because last go around you got what was it? You got higher salary.
Higher salaries, maternity leave benefits,
Yes.
and like extra maternity benefits, and fascinating.
Say pregnancy costs.
Charter flights came out of that came out of the CBA. So that was I am really curious how that was negotiated by the PA in the league, because they didn't actually separate, like they didn't rip up the CBA and add that addendum in, but like no charter flights is a part of the collective bargaining agreement. So that piece of it is interesting, is like, do you have to go back to the table and renegotiate that with the league? I would imagine if you have it in now, it was written in there with some type of language in it. There are extra benefits. I think there's like retirement stuff, pension and health insurance things that the PA is going to be fighting for this go round, which I think are huge. Mostly because in my eyes, I think you need pension plans and stuff to make this league feel like its male counterparts, and that, you know, if you do a decade, like you're part of this league forever, you know what I mean? Because right now it feels like there is sort of an exit point for a lot of WNBA players. And I'm not talking about WNBA stars. I'm talking about just your run-of-the-mill WNBA player, you know, someone who hangs on a roster for 5-6 years and retires, and you might not even remember them all of these years from now, right? But man, it feels like the more players that are in this league, the better it is. And you're right. I know it has to be such an alienating feeling if you're like a Maryland fan or a Cheyenne Sellers fan, for instance, right? Or even like the very first day of camp, and who was it? Alyssa Utsby is like cut on day one. Right. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with that? You know?
And Cheyenne was very heavily promoted. And for Maryland, a program with like a rich history, this was a year where she was still their only like representative. So it's like you have an entire fan base have their hopes and dreams just dashed just like that. And then for the quotes to come out and say like, well, yeah, she did everything we asked her to do. Huh? Okay, I guess. Yeah. Like, it's never easy making cuts, but like, yeah, don't tell me that. That's not good.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Make up a different excuse. Yeah.
I'd rather you just say I wasn't good enough for it.
We didn't like the cut of her jib. Okay. True.
There was something interesting about, like, in reading between the lines, or maybe reading too deeply into Natalie Nicassi's comments about Cheyenne and being like, we want people that fit the culture of the team. And I was like, oh, then why did you draft her? You know, like, right. if there was a personality thing, or you felt that like people's personalities align better. First of all, I don't know how you make that conclusion in a week. That
second, her personality is kind of like straightforward business.
Yeah, it doesn't strike. Yeah, so it's not a chaotic one.
Right. So that's where I'm kind of like, she was too serious about this job. Sorry, she was serious about business. Hey, okay. She's trying to get her. She said we need Sid Colson. That's what it is. She should have made a trade for Sid Colson then.
Should have traded for Kirsten Bell. Locker room glue.
Ooh. Hey, man.
Hey.
Are you good?
Hey, look.
Are you good over there?
Dog, Becky may send the black vans up to Denver, Colorado, but I'm gonna just say this. I hesitate to disparage players. I don't like to disparage college players because they're college kids, at least in my eyes, at 30 years old. But if you're a professional, there is a certain amount of critique that you take when you decide that you want to be a professional athlete, because part of what we do when we talk about this stuff is try to make sense of it for fans, for viewers. And I am at a point, And I think all 5 of us in no cap space are, because even from what we hear within our sources in the league, group chats and rumors and scuttlebutt and all of the stuff that comes along our desks and through our text messages, I cannot figure it out. What is Kirsten Bell giving you that another rookie wouldn't? And that's what and when you already have a depth problem, and especially a depth problem at the front court, especially now, with Cheyenne Parker-Tyus not going to be back until the stretch run when she has her child. You still got Kia Stokes out there, which, she says she feels rejuvenated, and that's great, but you're going to need a little more than that. Megan Gustafson's hurt. Like, that's a lot to put on a 6'6" Liz Kitley who's just getting off an ACL surgery. Like,
in her
and
rookie
yet
year.
you have in her rookie year, essentially, and then you have a guard on this roster who basically is noteworthy because she doesn't play. That to me feels I've run out of ways to explain that, because if it was about I think we're past the point of like, you need to maintain locker room chemistry. I think that was I think it was a valid thing to say last year. Like, I will go out on the hill here, because I know you and I will disagree on this, but like, I thought last year, while maybe not the most prudent move on the Aces part, you could make the argument that like, we've won 2. No need to fix what isn't broken. And people can reasonably agree or disagree with it, but it was a valid place for that to be coming from. You just shipped off Kelsey Plum to get Jewel Lloyd. You just made a bunch of free agent signings to bolster your depth. You just got a sharpshooting 3-point specialist to be a key rotational player for you, and you are trying to maximize Asia Wilson's window. What does she give you? Like, what is the upside gamble with her? That's what I don't get anymore.
Okay, and let me expand what you said earlier about critique, because we see your critiques, and as a, I guess, front-facing industry, like, we're in entertainment too. So when you guys critique us, we have to discuss it, pick between, like, straight hating and stuff like, okay, yeah, we do need to, like, take this into consideration. So we're not immune from the critique that we give out to others. So having said that, Kristen Bell should have went 3 years ago. I'm beyond tired of it, because when you say locker room chemistry, I'm like, I don't even know what she adds to that, in a sense, because she's still like the kid sister of the group. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if with Sid Colson, you can say like she's a grizzled vet that's been in the league for years. She survived the wobble, came back from Vietnam, and she's seen things.
Won a ring with Gary Blair, dog. Like, that, to me, that's a stamp.
She's seen things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you can argue that, but with like Kirsten Bell, she came in on the tail end, like she came in with Becky, right? Yeah. So she comes in with Becky, and all she knows is winning. Like, she wasn't responsible for any of that. She was just the benefactor of it. So now we're in a situation where like she's hooping in AU, and everybody keeps saying like, oh yeah, she's killing it in AU. And I'm like, so at what point is she going to do that in a game? And it's like, we've been critical of Becky and how she uses or doesn't use her bench. But like, every time I've seen her get in, she looks clueless. Like, the moment looks overwhelming for her each time I've seen her in a game. And I'm like, you're telling me that none of these rookies that we've cut over the years could do better than that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't fully understand what the loyalty to her specifically is. Like, I had high hopes for her. Like, I truly did. But it's just like, there comes a point to where I'm like, I would have preferred you try and like develop Bree Bill, bro. Like, at least she can go out and play some solid defense and learn from Jackie, even if she is like our Andre Roberson. I don't care if you don't shoot at all. Just go out there and guard somebody 94 feet. That's fine by me, but we can at least pinpoint what she would be good at. But we cut her to keep, and now we've got Bell, and now we're kind of stuck because she's not an easy contract to get rid of. So I'm just like, bruh.
Well, and the Aaliyah Nye thing is particularly noteworthy because The minutes that Kirsten Bell would have played last year were Kate Martin minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And if Aaliyah Nye comes in and basically plays the Kate Martin role again, what is the utility? And like I said, I don't say this from a place of wanting to see somebody out of work, but I think from my perspective, you have the greatest women's basketball player on earth right now on your roster, getting near 30. You sell the damn farm to make sure she wins as many as possible. Like, we watched last year, at least for me, a year wasted in the window, because it became very apparent by the end she was having to do it all on her own, and it weighed on her. And I think it looked pretty clear on the floor that she was exhausted by the end of it. You can't do that again, man. Like, you can't, especially now with like the amount of teams coming online, the amount of investment that's coming. Mark Davis and Joe Tsai are not outliers anymore in terms of how they treat their franchises. So you have to do, like, this feels a little bit of like Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis right now, where it's like, well, we've got all of these things. And it's like, no, man, if you want to win with this generationally great talent, like, you do whatever. And if it doesn't work, you blow it up and you try again. Right. And that's why, to bring it all the way back to center from our original point of discussion, this is why when you go to the negotiating table with the league, you got to advocate for more roster spots. Because the thing that we're doing right now is saying Kirsten Bell should be cut in favor of someone else. When what should be happening, what the conversation should be, is because there's 14 roster spots for each team in the league, who should they keep on this training camp roster and still be able to keep Bell as well? You know, and that's what I think people miss sometimes, is that like these conversations aren't coming from any place of like animus or personal hate. It comes from a place of like what the structures in the league demand is that you have to kind of be a little cutthroat in how you discuss these things. And while there is a humanity that we need to maintain in how we discuss people individually, how we discuss the league and personnel choices is one of the most cutthroat places to have to talk about this stuff. If you are in the media, if you are a fan, if you are in a front office, it's the hardest league in the world to make. And because of that, every roster spot counts, and every roster spot is up to scrutiny when there's so many good players that don't make this league or don't stick in this league.
And let me add to that and say the way you do this is equality, right? Because I saw a discussion today about how, and it's from some respected followers, about how like, oh, you can't talk about, you know, certain flaws and why people get cut. It's never been really about that per se. For some of us, it's about the timing. If you only do it at certain times, like if we're only picking on Kirsten Bell and only saying like, you know, she's got to go, she sucks, then it's like, okay, this feels kind of targeted and kind of personal. But if it's like, we break down each team and who needs to stay and who needs to go and this, that, the third, like we just talked about Bree Turner and, you know, what she brings and why she should stay versus why I think she could go, blah, 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 blah. If we're talking about the league as a whole, as a real league, then we're fine. So we don't have to now have all of these caveats. And I feel like here at No Cap Space, we do a fair job of, if nothing else, pissing everybody off. So it's like, we'll continue to do that. But I just, you know, I would like to issue that charge to, you know, our colleagues in the media, where don't just wait until one team or one player or one particular, you know, graduates of a certain program to start now wanting to be critical and treat it like, you know, take the kid gloves off, take them off, to, you know, all of it, or keep them on the whole time. Having said that, you know where Kirsten Bell would fit in? The Minnesota Lynx. They apparently have room because Cheryl Reeve has like 23 people at training camp right now. And I was like, sister, what have you done? Are
Cheryl Reeve?
Cheryl, like,
Cheryl is moving. Dog, she's moving like Heath Ledger's Joker. She snapped a pool cue in half and said, we're going to have tryouts, and drops the pool cue at the feet of 9 WNBA rookies and walks out of the room and just goes, make it fast.
Bro, no, but you know what it's actually getting towards? Secession. We're getting to bore on the floor territory, and I'm kind of scared.
Cheryl would be, though, the type of coach to tell a player point blank, I love you, but you're not serious, people. Like, she, to me, is the most Logan Roy coded coach in the WNBA right now. Like, I think, who would Becky, but Becky steps in it too much. Becky's a little Kendall in that respect. Like a couple of master strokes, but a couple of egregious oversights in like certain places.
Yeah, no, she's really like, I'm responding to this because it's like you go back where she said Nneka was like the biggest flopper in the league, and I was like, by name, sister, that's how you're feeling? Good God, okay. And then like last season, she's on Twitter talking about like, you know, the league deserved more people than just one person deserves attention, and and like, you know, then she started popping her stuff at the Commissioner's Cup. So it's like there's a method to her madness. It's just sometimes it is madness. Like, okay, you can simmer down a bit, but yeah, she's definitely bore on the floor type. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. That's damn bore on the floor. I gotta go back and watch that episode.